Imagine a place where temperatures can drop to minus 64 degrees Celsius. This is a cold that is difficult even to imagine, bone-piercing, so intense that it can freeze your breath at the very moment you exhale. And this is not a groundless fantasy. It is the everyday reality of the northernmost regions of our planet.
Регионов нашей планеты.
But what is truly astonishing is that humans do not merely survive in these extreme conditions, they thrive. People build civilizations, develop remarkable skills, and discover ingenious solutions that allow them not only to withstand the cold, but to fully adapt to it. What we are about to uncover today is not simply a set of ways to endure the cold. It is a complete and complex system of survival, a system that the Inuit people perfected over thousands of years, long before humanity had access to modern heating technologies. Now, let us explore this subject together, uncovering the secrets of survival in the far north, and the lessons the Inuit have taught us about resilience, ingenuity, and the human capacity for adaptation. When it comes to Inuit dwellings, most of us immediately picture a single image: the snow igloo, a pristine white, dome-shaped shelter standing alone amid vast, endless snowy landscapes. This image has become deeply ingrained in our minds through films, books, and photographs. In reality, the igloo is not a permanent dwelling in which the Inuit live throughout the winter. On the contrary, it is an emergency shelter, a temporary structure built by the Inuit during hunting trips or long journeys across snowy expanses. In essence, it is similar to camping tents, structures that can be set up quickly and dismantled just as easily rather than permanent homes. So why is a structure made of frozen water capable of retaining human warmth? The reason is very simple, yet extremely effective. Up to 95% of the volume of snow is not solid matter at all. It is air trapped between ice crystals, and it is precisely this air that is the key element. When the Inuit stack tightly packed snow blocks into a dome-shaped form, they are not merely building a wall. They are creating a wall saturated with countless tiny air pockets, a network of frozen ventilation cavities. These air pockets function as ideal thermal insulation barriers. The temperature difference inside can reach up to 40 degrees, solely due to how scientifically and precisely the Inuit arrange the snow. The entrance to a snow igloo is built lower than the main living space. At first glance, this may seem inconvenient. However, it is in fact a brilliant engineering solution developed by the Inuit. According to the basic laws of physics, cold air is heavier than warm air. This means that the cold air outside the harsh Arctic winds naturally sinks downward and becomes trapped in the lower part of the entrance tunnel. The igloo serves only as a temporary refuge during hunting expeditions. But when other seasons arrive, when the Inuit need to live permanently and form communities, where do they live then? The answer lies in the tupiks, the Inuit summer dwellings. But tupiks are by no means fragile fabric tents that can be easily blown away by the wind. They are true architectural masterpieces made from the skins of seals or reindeer, materials carefully selected from animals that inhabit the extreme conditions of the far north. From these skins, sinew fibers are extracted and used for stitching, creating a covering that is durable, flexible, and, most importantly, completely waterproof. This leather layer is capable of withstanding fierce Arctic winds without tearing or suffering damage. The framework of these dwellings is constructed from carefully selected wooden poles. However, in places where wood is scarce, where trees simply cannot survive, the Inuit developed a truly unique alternative solution: whale bones. This detail vividly reflects their skill, ingenuity, and ability to make maximum use of everything available in a harsh environment. When nature did not provide wood, they did not fall into despair or seek solutions from elsewhere. Instead, they turned their attention to the sea, noticed the massive bones of whales, these enormous creatures bestowed by nature, and realized that they were invaluable supports, essential for building homes. This stands as clear evidence of a deep understanding of the environment and the ability to transform hardship into opportunity. Toothpicks can be built in dome or conical shapes, geometric forms that are optimally suited to resist strong winds. But most importantly, they can be quickly dismantled and transported to any location. This flexibility is crucial to the nomadic lifestyle of the Inuit. It allows them to follow animal herds and hunting routes that change with the seasons. In essence, the Inuit created dwellings that are equally effective in both winter and summer, structures perfectly designed for their environment and capable of adapting to whatever conditions nature presents. However, to achieve a temperature difference of 40 degrees Celsius between the outside environment and the interior space, insulation alone was not enough. They required an internal source of heat, a way to actually generate warmth. It is at this point that a simple yet extraordinarily important invention appears: the kulik, the ancient Inuit lamp. Sources describe it as a kind of Swiss Army knife of the Arctic, a comparison that is exceptionally accurate. The kulik simultaneously serves as a heater, a cooking stove, and a source of light, three vital functions combined in a single device. It is carved from stone, most often soapstone, a soft, easily worked material that nevertheless has high heat resistance. The kulik operates on animal fat, seal fat or whale fat, rich sources of energy obtained from animals the Inuit regularly hunt. The Inuit melt the fat into a liquid state and pour it into the stone lamp. The wick, the fur of the flame, is usually made from an Arctic fluffy plant or moss, carefully twisted and placed along one edge of the lamp. This arrangement allows precise control over the size and intensity of the flame by adjusting the wick, an entirely natural and efficient fire control mechanism. A well-maintained kulik can burn continuously for many weeks, consuming only about 1 to 2 cups of oil per day. One large kulik lamp is capable of producing an amount of heat comparable to that of a modern small electric heater, a device we use in everyday life. Using nothing more than a primitive stone lamp with a flame fueled by animal fat, the Inuit created a heating system sufficient to transform a snow igloo into a comfortable living space. But humans cannot remain indoors at all times. They must go outside into snowstorms, into temperatures of -40, -50, and sometimes even -60 degrees Celsius. Their clothing, therefore, had to be something truly extraordinary. Consider the traditional parka made from reindeer fur, a material choice that modern science has only recently begun to fully understand. Reindeer fur does not consist of dense fibers like ordinary hair. Instead, each hair is hollow, a structure optimized by nature over millions of years of evolution. These hollow spaces trap air in exactly the same way that snow does in an igloo. Trapped air is one of the best natural thermal insulators on Earth. The Inuit developed a double-layer fur system, a system that may appear excessive at first glance, but in practice makes a decisive difference. The first layer of fur faces inward, closer to the body. The second layer faces outward, where it comes into contact with wind and snow. This configuration not only forms a double insulation layer, but also creates additional air pockets between the two layers. The outer layer, with the fur facing outward, also has superior water-repellent properties, as its structure allows water to run off rather than be absorbed inward. This is a system in which each layer performs its own function, yet together they form an almost perfect defense against one of the harshest environments on the planet. However, the feet are protected just as carefully. Sources describe kamik boots, footwear made from seal skin, as true technological masterpieces for the feet. At first glance, it seems impossible that feet could remain warm while standing on ice all day. But the answer lies in their multi-layer construction. Kamik boots have an outer waterproof layer made of seal skin, a durable shell that protects the feet from wet snow. Inside are several layers of insulating lining, usually made from rabbit fur or Arctic fox fur types of fur, with hollow structures that help trap warm air. Some traditional boot designs even include a layer of dry grass, carefully woven between the layers of fur. This dry grass not only serves as thermal insulation, but also acts as a moisture-absorbing material, keeping the feet dry. This is crucial for preventing frostbite. The face is the most vulnerable part of the body when exposed to cold winds. Its thin, sensitive tissues can freeze in just a few minutes. When subjected to winds at temperatures of -40 to -50 degrees Celsius. However, the Inuit have a solution for this problem as well. Traditional outerwear, the anorak, features a fur trim around the hood. At first glance, this may appear to be a decorative element, but in reality it performs an extremely important aerodynamic function. When wind passes through this fur, it cannot form a continuous, sharp airflow. Instead, the fur breaks up the flow, making it turbulent and slowing it down. As a result, a zone of calmer, warmer air forms in front of the wearer's face, a natural wind barrier that protects against direct exposure to cold winds. Every detail, whether large or small, plays its own role in a comprehensive system of survival. But even with all of these technologies, from housing and clothing to heating systems and protective layers, a deeper question remains. How is a human being with an ordinary biological body able to withstand such levels of cold on a daily basis? And how does the human mind not break under the pressure of such harsh conditions? This brings us to factors that go beyond technology, factors related to the body, the mind, and the human biological capacity for adaptation, which the Inuit developed over thousands of years of isolated life in the far north. Scientific studies have shown that the Inuit exhibit noticeable physiological differences compared to populations living in warmer climates. For example, when exposed to cold, the blood vessels in the hands of Inuit individuals do not constrict as quickly as those of other people. The vasoconstriction response, a normal protective mechanism designed to preserve heat in vital organs, is less pronounced in them. This allows blood to circulate more effectively in the extremities, keeping them warmer and, most importantly, more functional. A stiffened hand that has lost mobility is a deadly risk factor in the Arctic. It can deprive a person of the ability to save their own life. But an even more important question arises: what about the human mind? One notable study compared levels of psychological stress in Inuit individuals and in people who do not live in the Arctic when exposed to extremely low temperatures. The results were astonishing. Inuit participants showed virtually no signs of psychological stress at temperatures that caused significant anxiety in individuals without traditional experience of Arctic living. Staying warm in the Arctic is not an individual task that a person must face alone. It is a team effort, a collective undertaking in which every member of the community contributes to the group's overall survival. However, cooperation goes even further. Consider hunting a vital activity for life in the Arctic. Hunting groups operate together within a clearly organized system. Each person performs a specific role, and each bears their own responsibility. When 10 families from a single community go out to hunt, the likelihood that all of them will return empty-handed is practically zero. This method of food distribution creates an exceptionally strong system of social protection, a mechanism that prevents starvation and loss of life. This interdependence is not a weakness, on the contrary. It is a source of strength. It fosters unity, trust, and social cohesion that holds the community together even under the harshest conditions. The traditional Inuit diet consists almost entirely of fats and proteins and contains very few carbohydrates. Most vegetables and plants do not grow in the Arctic, and even when they do appear, they cannot be stored for long periods. Instead, life revolves around animals, seals, whales, and reindeer that are rich in fats and proteins. Whale blubber is a specially selected part of the whale. A single piece of muktuk weighing about half a kilogram can provide an amount of energy equivalent to 5 servings of rice. That is, more than 2 kilograms of rice. It is a source of extremely high caloric density. Fats contain 9 calories per gram, whereas carbohydrates and proteins contain only 4 calories per gram. In the Arctic, where the body must constantly generate heat to combat the cold, and where food must be compact enough to be carried on long hunting expeditions, fat is the ideal source of energy. The Inuit also consume raw meat and fish because raw foods contain more nutrients that contribute to heat production than cooked foods. When digesting raw meat, the body must work more intensively, and this very process itself generates heat. This phenomenon is known as thermogenesis, the body's ability to produce heat during the process of digestion. It is as if the body possesses a kind of metabolic superpower, turning every meal into an additional source of warmth. Moreover, raw meat, especially internal organs, is one of the very few sources of vitamin C in the Arctic, where fruits and vegetables are absent. Vitamin C is essential for protection against scurvy, a devastating disease that leads to disability and ultimately to death. However, vitamin C is destroyed by heat, which means that consuming raw food is the only way to prevent this disease. This is not a matter of choice, it is a physiological necessity. Today, many Inuit communities live in modern houses equipped with central heating, electricity, running water, and various technological conveniences. They use motorized snowmobiles instead of dog sleds and purchase food from stores rather than relying exclusively on hunting. Modern clothing includes both ordinary contemporary garments and high-tech insulating materials. However, modern Inuit have not completely abandoned traditional methods. They have created a very sensible combination of the old and the new. By preserving traditional knowledge while embracing modern technology, Inuit communities have built a more resilient system for confronting the challenges of the Arctic. If technology fails, ancient methods remain available. If traditional practices prove insufficient, modern solutions step in. This stands as clear evidence that the best path often lies not in choosing between the old and the new, but in knowing how to use both effectively.